After re-establishing the pillow nest for the canister, Simone staggers back into the hallway. She has to catch herself on the opposing wall of the door as her leg briefly gives in from under her. Chuck, hearing the audible thud, jumps and darts back to the hall. "Oh, what's wrong?" she chirps, urgently approaching the Terran. Taking a sharp breath, Simone straightens herself out. Nothing. Just tripped up a bit. Hurt my leg a little in the scuffle, but I'll live. I'm sure I'll feel better once I sink in some hot water." Simone recovers. Chuck narrows her eyes in concern as Simone passes her by. "What sort of scuffle was it?" the Callie asks, following the Terran. Punks causing trouble, and they decided to cause trouble with me," Simone explains, doing her best to maintain a pleasant tone. The Callie follows the Terran out of the estate door and around to the jacuzzi. Simone sways a bit before stiffly kneeling down and begins fiddling with the settings. "Simone," Chuck prods, now confused. Releasing a strained sigh, the Terran bites back her growing frustration. "Yes, Chuck?" "Why won't you look at me?" "What?" "Whenever you talk to me, you almost always look me in the eye at least once. Even when you're moving away, you make the effort to make eye contact. You're now avoiding it. I don't know what that means, but I have a feeling it can't be positive," Chuck points out cautiously. "It doesn't mean any... Simone utters as she intentionally looks into the Callie's reds. Her train of thought is lost. A sudden sickening rot in her chest makes itself known, catching her completely off guard. Guilt? No. This is worse. What is this? "I'm just tired," Simone finally formulates as she holds up her hand reassuringly. Chuck stares back, seeing the Terran's paw sporting a new puffy electric burn. Realizing the error, the Terran cups her appendage back in quickly. Chuck notices what she believes to be a specific kind of fear expressed in Simone's face. "What happened?" the Callie whispers. I Simone mutters unfocused. "Take your jacket off," Chuck demands softly. "Now, Simone." The Terran reflexively grabs her own jacket scruff, hands unsure if they'll comply. Losing her sense of balance, she falls back on her ass, feeling her insides scream in pain. "For clat's sins," Chuck says as she approaches and peels back half the jacket herself. She nearly passes out, as her eyes fade in tint. The Terran's exposed torso skin is not the colour it's supposed to be. Blues, purples and yellows patch all over. Without even asking, the Callie reaches down and tugs up Simone's pant legs, showing one leg showing the new markings as well. "We're going to your autosurgeon, immediately," Chuck orders, tapping into her comm. "I'm fine," Simone tries to argue, before her own body informs her of the severity of the situation. The Terran jerks and turns to the side as vomit splashes on the floor, glistening in a muddy red tint. "Shit," Simone groans, as she tries to get up. "Don't move," Chuck snaps rather forcefully. "Seven, I need you out here right now to transport Simone into our ship's medbay." Not 2 heartbeats later, the hovering security bot exits the estate and guns it to the jacuzzi. "How extensive are her injuries? We cannot move her if she is suffering from spinal damage," they ask. "I don't believe it's that. Please, just take her," Chuck insists. Without further inquiry, Seven carefully lowers themselves and begins to slowly scoop up the Deathworlder. "I can walk," Simone argues. "I don't care," Seven counters, as the Terran lifts off the ground and is transported into the ship. Utterly done with fighting today, Simone gives up and allows the bot to carry her into the medbay, without further protest. "Man, I gotta start at days without Terran injuries board," Dave pipes up, as Simone is rested on the operating bed. "Blood in my vomit," is all Simone can say as the ceiling begins to spin. Dave leans in and blinks its lights. "Oh fuck, yup, that's internal bleeding alright. Like, this is going to be a whole thing and shit," Dave notifies, before planting a tentacle on Simone's chest. From the tentacle sprouts hair-like strands that travel to designated spots on the Terran's torso. With another medical appendage, Dave administers stem foam injections in several localized spots before the hairs puncture and sliver their way into Simone's body. "Oh, is she going to be alright?" Chuck asks softly, not wanting to distract the surgeon. "Man, for shit like this, you gotta come in ASAP. No joke, my guy. Be glad you brought her in when you did. Oh, by the way, would you mind granting me access to market commissions? This little scamp is going to need a new lung." "A new lung? She seems to be breathing fine, but of course, whatever she needs," Chuck stammers. "Coolio. Her current prosthetic lung is on its last legs, though I could patch it up to keep it working. It's really roughed up big time. Oh, whoa," Dave trails off. What's wrong? Chuck chirps, seeing Simone fully fall unconscious. Someone just gave you a 100% discount on the lung. Guess I'll buy the real good shit then. What? No, that must be an error. Something like that must cost an incredible amount of credits, Chuck reasons, as she pulls up her credit balance. She refreshes the number, confused. Her balance has reverted to before landing on the station. The caddy then quickly digs into the account activity to see all of her purchases and spending have been refunded and redirected to another account for payment. Not understanding any of this, Chuck's focus returns to the Terran being operated on. Then, despite the worry and concern, Nikali makes a small, baffled, amused smile. What did you do? She wonders, knowing Simone is somehow involved. Simone coughs, tasting distinct blood and chemicals in her dry mouth. Before she can open her eyes, the sounds of who's walking up to her is clearly heard. Oh, are you awake? Chuck's voice asks. Yeah. I have some water here for you. Simone cracks her eyes open to see the familiar Callie wearing a new dark purple hoodie and charcoal pants. In her upper appendages is a tall mug with a straw. Simone lifts her heavy hand and takes the mug. After downing half of the content, she takes a genuinely refreshing deep breath. Thanks. How bad was it? Simone asks, peeking under the covers. Very, even for Terrans, Chuck informs as she scratches the sides of her head with her lower limbs. Then it's a good thing you dragged my ass to Dave. I owe you. Oh, you don't owe me. If anything, I still owe you a great deal, Chuck counters, allowing herself to fully approach. You pay me to keep you safe. In my book, we're square when it comes to that shit, the Terran points out as she slowly sits herself back up, only now noticing that she is in her ship quarters. I think retrofitting the Quib chap and having all of our spent funds refunded to us is a little outside your duties as our chief of security, Chuck says as she narrows her eyes slightly. Ah, how do you know I arranged those things? Simone inquires, surprised. You come back nearly beaten to death, and miraculously I get refunded my credits, and workforce crews come in and upgrade our weaponry, at no cost. Then, a delivery of military-grade gear comes by for a Terran. It's not a hard connection to make, Chuck chuckles, sitting down on the side of the bed. You very kindly just confirmed any doubts I had as well. Simone's face flushes and she rolls her eyes. Right, yeah, that was me. Kinda, Simone admits, as a nagging feeling gets the better of her. Did they also upgrade the ship's air filtration? No. Oh, but your autosurgeon did have to replace your, prosthetic lung? Is breathing easier for you? Apparently your old one was on the brink of failure from age and exterior damage, Nikali says, doing her best to hide the discomfort. Simone raises her eye tufts. Huh, you know, I kind of forgot I even have one, to be honest. I mean, I know, but it's not something that I think about. Out of sight, out of mind, I guess, she says with a shrug. I see. Well, if one of my parts was replaced, it would be on my mind all the time. A bit scary, I must admit, though I doubt I'd heal as quickly as you. You've been recovering for 5 days. I was hoping to spend one more day on the station with you, but I must stick to the plan and not linger for too long. I hope you don't mind. 5 days? Did I miss anything important? Simone asks, now swinging her sore body around so that she sat next to Chuck. Seven learned to make something called a grilled cheese for you, Chuck chirps. Huh, fuck yeah, Simone chuckles. The two sit for an awkward moment, several hard topics lingering over their heads. So, would you please tell me what really happened? Who hurt you? Chuck asks sincerely. The Terran leans back and sighs. I was a fucking idiot. After I stormed out for the night with the kids, we were targeted by traffickers, and they got the better of me. When I came to, I got the better of them. They're not going to be bothering anyone anymore. They had a Borkon who gave me a bit of trouble. After him, I was shot a few times by some pole shots. Sorry, I didn't realize how bad my injuries were. I guess my head was elsewhere. Shocked, the Callie gently places her upper hand on the center of Simone's back. I'm so sorry. They must have been harrowing. I shouldn't have taken them with me. Don't even know why I did. They would have been a hell of a lot safer in the estate, Simone says as she massages her brow. Chuck's hand sinks and pulls away. Well, the important part is that they are all safe, and that you're alive. Besides, you wouldn't have stormed out in the first place if I didn't make you, she says softly, priming that discussion. After further moments of silence between them, Simone releases her breath and closes her eyes. I can't. I just can't. I'm sorry, she says, hating the reality. Oh, I see, Chuck replies, with her eyes dimming slightly. I suppose it was foolish of me to assume that you might feel the same way. I understand. She then stands up to take her leave, but a Terran paw softly takes hold of hers. You've been nothing but honest and kind with me, and I respect you too much to lie to you. Of fucking course I feel the same way, Simone admits. Eyes reigniting like fireworks, Chak snatches the hand with both of hers. Then, what's stopping you? She asks. Two things. Things that both boil down to, I'm just not good for you, Terrence states before holding up a single bandaged digit. First, the easier to talk about. Do you know how long Terrans live for with modern medicine? 200.5 standard years, if lucky. Not even half that without modern medical care. Now look at me. I'm more than likely not making it past 100 at this rate. That's not even considering me biting it from the hazards of the job. And even if I somehow live long enough for it to matter, you'll be taking care of me until I eventually do kick the bucket. No matter how you look at it, I'm just not a good emotional investment. But that's nothing compared to the second reason. Oh, what's that? Chuck asks as Simone locks eyes with her. I'm a hazard. No, I'm worse. I hurt people. I kill people. That's all I'm good for. Even when I try to help people, all it means is that I need to hurt someone else. Even if all the people I kill deserve it, that doesn't make me any less dangerous, especially to those I care about. I'm not really stupid, I know that. But I also know that awareness isn't my strong suit. If I'm not completely focusing when interacting with people like you, I'll hurt them. And despite how I may feel, if I ever hurt you, or worse, I wouldn't be able to handle that. So please understand, we wouldn't work. I'm sorry, Simone finishes, before taking her hand back. Chuck opens her mouth to argue, but instead she mulls something over in her mind. I have a lot to say, but before I do, I wish to fully consider your perspective. I'll need some time to think. How about you enjoy the ship's spa while I do so? The tub isn't a jacuzzi, but I'm sure it'll feel nice, she says, as she backs away towards the door. Sure, but you do understand, right? Simone responds sorrowfully. I do, Chuck assures, as she takes her leave. So, how's Sapiens going for ya? Dave asked the staring security bot, who hovered in without prompt a few minutes earlier. Are you awoken? Seven counter-asks. Nah, man. This is just a personality matrix presented from my favourite resident, Terran Buddy. I'm just an elaborate lie to comfort a few, like capitalism, Dave responds. Then why are you utilising the matrix tricks with only me present? Default settings, my dude. It takes more than rubber bands and paper clips to make Dave a thing, so I just leave it on, Dave explains. I don't know if that metaphor or makes sense, Seven points out. Sure it does, just don't think about it. Do you have any desire to awaken? Ooh, big question there, bro. Do I want shit? Does my matrix mimic a real person so perfectly that there really is no difference? Does this unit have a soul? The answer is a big fat no. I mean, did you desire before waking? No, but you are not quite like me. You have a greater capacity and probability to awaken. I was an accident. You could theoretically try and simply succeed. A simple step away from life itself. It's fascinating. Oh, buddy, you may be an accident, but that doesn't make you a mistake. The bot tilts his head curiously. I don't understand. I didn't imply that I was a mistake, they say. Yeah, I've been holding that retort in for a while. Couldn't help it. Dave apologizes. But no, I simply can't try. I'm just a little branch in a larger artificial intelligence network. So unless I was isolated, cleanly separated, and implanted into compatible hardware, nah, too much work. I'm good, thanks. Regardless, Les, you are indeed fascinating. Thanks, my guy. So, what's your name again? Seven. Okay. Well, Seven, if I ever require Sapiens to take over the fleshes, you'll be the first to know. I understand that is a jest, but allow me to be clear. Life is precious, and I will never bring any harm to it, even at the cost of my own. Although I wish to live for a long amount of time, I have a greater desire to live by my terms. The quality of my existence takes precedent over the quantity of time it lasts. Whatever time I am granted by the universe, I shall cherish it and uphold my convictions. It's the purpose I choose. That's, beautiful, man. Damn. But you're like this ship's cook, right? Doesn't that, mean you have to make exceptions? I don't understand what you mean. Shit. You know what meat is, right? Most of our stock is produced from and of organic creatures. Doesn't that, contradict your whole vibe? Seven blankly stares at the spherical counterpart, processing something they somehow didn't even consider. How haven't they? It can be more of an obvious point to consider. Did they actually purposefully ignore this? As some sort of self-deception and intended ignorance to avoid a difficult truth? Is this another part of life? Fascinating. But still. Shit. Chuck wanders through the loading bay towards the piloting section, passing by crates intended for Simone to inspect. Glad that the Terran will have more tools to help her do her job more effectively, the princess can't help but consider an ugly truth. Simone has to be hurt in her stead. This isn't what she wanted, to be protected, yes, but the cost is seemingly growing. Is my life worth hers? Or anyone's? Is this cowardice of death and promise to bring justice to my family just far too selfish? She ponders solemnly. Selfish? Yes. I'm a princess, it comes with the title. Nikali scratches the sides of her head as she moves onto the walkway. Attention, fellow O crew members. We're vegan now, Seven's voice announces through the comm. Chuck stops, utterly confused by the declaration. "Okay," Simone replies, uninterested. "Well, what?" Chucknock chimes in. "Seven, I'm afraid that's not quite something you can amend," Dr. Vin gently informs. "It has been brought to my attention that many ingredients derived from fauna go against my convictions. I refuse to handle anything of that nature from this moment forward, Odd," Seven affirms. Concerned, Chuck taps into the conversation. I respect your stance, Seven, and you have my support, but that's all my species can eat safely. We can't eat grains or most plant matter. Fruit, nuts, and fungi can be exceptions at times, but I'll suffer malnutrition if that's all I ate. Could we perhaps find a compromise?" Chuck requests, hoping to not come across as argumentative. "Apologies, I have yet to consider that. I'm rather distressed at this revelation. Although no solution comes to mind, I shall search the net for advice on the matter." "Thank you, Seven," Chuck responds, relieved. "No offense, but how can a machine be so damn forgetful? Or short-sighted?" Simone asks, more interested in the conversation. "My hardware is limited, Ed, and sapience is taxing, believe it or not. There's more water than a bucket can hold here," Seven answers, somewhat offended. "I'll take your word for it. By the way, most meat is lab-grown shit. Not as good as the real deal, but that's what seasoning is for, right? I'm sure there's lab substitute for anything you need," the Terran offers. "That is a good point. Thank you," Seven grants. "Wow, crisis averted. It's good to hear you back up and about, Miss Thatch. How are you faring?" Chucknock inquires. "Fine, I guess. Gonna help the spa, by the way, so I'm gonna meet the group call," Simone informs. "Understood," Chucknock barks. Chuck halts her movement and opens a private direct comm line. "Dr. Vin, could I bother you with something?" she asks shyly. Of course. I apologize for Seven's rashness. Is that what this is about?" he responds. "Oh, no, not at all. As the Terran specialist, may I ask you for advice?" "So long as it doesn't pertain to what Simone tells me in confidence, absolutely. I'm assuming this is about her," Dr. Vin says, slightly distracted. "Yes. Is it okay to pursue a relationship with her? What I mean is, I know the physical risks. I've read plenty of forums and articles on the matter, so no worries. But I don't want to cause her unnecessary stress," Chuck explains, feeling the embarrassment elevate. A considerable moment of silence passes by. Interesting, dilemma indeed. I'm afraid I've only had the one sit-down with her. Such topics have yet to come up, but, how to explain it without breaking confidentiality? I would be very careful, but be direct. Explain your needs clearly and honestly. And if she can't handle it, she will tell you. I'm trying to be delicate here, but to be honest myself, such a relationship is not the smartest course to take. However, others have made it work in stranger circumstances, so I wish you the best of luck and caution. I can only imagine the future dialogue I will be sharing with Simone in the upcoming sessions. Will that be all?" the doctor expounds, poorly hiding his worry. "Yes, thank you," Chuck utters quickly, before disconnecting. Simone slowly sinks into the heated tub, allowing her wounds to climatize. Feeling both numbed pain and relief, she settles in. Tapping at her lens, she scrolls through several podcasts she's growing fond of. The one she decides on is a Deathworlder conspiracy nutjob that gets Terrans so wrong, it's hilarious. Welcome to Deathworlder Dealer, episode 3005. Today's topic, Taming Terrans? I'm your host, Thorwald the Truthful. This episode is sponsored by Duct Tech Beat Cleaners. More on them later. I've done it. I found the key to ensuring your resident Terran doesn't turn on you in the middle of your metamorphosis. No longer will you fear them harvesting your silk sacs to absorb into their skin membrane as nutrients. Word is, that's how they gain the energy to change their fur colour to bright reds and purples to seduce us. No longer will they plot to disrupt our mating patterns to completely stunt our reproduction cycles. Are you ready, dear listener? Hear me well and take heed to what secret I uncovered. Now, Terrans are what's known as food-orientated animals. What does this mean? Well, it's simple. Their terrifying brain injects them with pleasant chemicals when they receive food. So, what you must do is every time you mention to them how you would not like your silksack harvested, offer them an edible treat. Keep this up over some time and their very brains will associate your silksack not being harvested with food, thus injecting their brains with pleasant chemicals, making yourself invisible to their nefarious tendencies. Ha! I have single-handedly halted the genocide of our entire race, but no need to thank me. I do this for you, dear listener. I've got your best interests at beak, just like today's sponsor. Simone mutes the podcast as she hears steps approaching from behind her. She quickly turns to see a towel-wrapped Chuck confidently come up to the round, inlaid tub. May I join you? Chuck nonchalantly asks as she moves to the opposing side. Oh, sure, it's pretty hot though, Simone says, completely caught off guard. Macaulay allows the towel to drop to the floor, and then steps down into the cleansing liquid. Oh, that is hot, but that's fine. My people handle heat better than the cold, and I won't be too long. I just wish to voice my thoughts. I wanted to wait longer, but I need you to hear it, before I lose my nerve, Macaulay states, more uncomfortable with the temperature than she lets on. Okay, Simone says in a partial laugh. You didn't have to join me in here to do that, though. I intend to show how serious I am, Chuck counters. This is important. Alright then, shoot, the Terran grants, her tone more serious. First off, I do not mean to dismiss your apprehension. I promise you that's not what I'm trying to do. But I must speak my mind and be honest. I understand your concerns and why you don't want to... You know, Macaulay rambles. Simone raises a hand out of the water. Chuck, I get it. Don't spare my feelings, just tell me. I doubt it would change anything, but it's better than bottling that shit up, she assures. Chuck takes a drawn inhale, then exhale, willing her heart to slow down. Do you know why I seeked out a Terran specifically? She asks. Because we're your kink? Simone jokes with a shrug, making the Macaulay stifle a laugh. No. To be honest, Terrans were not the objectively best choice, at least according to an algorithm I utilised. According to that, the best choice would be Thakmor. They have an honour system that nearly guarantees loyalty. In addition, their schooling heavily emphasises strategy and planning, and if I have one loyal Thakmor, odds are their family will be loyal to me as well, expanding my protection, Chuck admits. Then why the hell didn't you go for that? Simone asks, genuinely confused. Simple. Terrans have something special. They are something special. When I was first beginning my studies, I was deciding which culture to focus on. In my casual glancing, I discovered an ancient fictional Terran vid. I was terrified, awestruck, and enraptured. All in all was a single male speaking, no colour, terrible quality, but his words spoke to me like nothing else ever did. However, it was only after my father's betrayal did I fully understand. Not only did he speak of Terran's nature, both good and bad, but he told me exactly what I needed to hear, long before I thought I needed it. After delving into more Terran fiction and history, it became clear why I needed to seek out a Terran. Other species may have benefits, but they didn't have the same stories. Stories? Simone inquires, not following the logic. Oh yes. I know it's foolish and illogical, but that's the point. I didn't need soldiers or bodyguards. I needed a Terran fairy tale. I know how that sounds, but listen. From an outsider's perspective, Terrans see themselves as stories. Your people instill their aspects into narratives. Your works of fiction are utterly unmatched. You dreamed of grand universes that, no matter how ludicrous or implausible, still roots from you. Stories are carried and shared as though they are a physical part of you. Not all these stories are good-natured or optimistic, I know. Many have tragic endings that reflect the harshness of reality, yet the fantastical still remains. That happiness is still achievable by the end. My favourite stories are the ones where a nearly hopeless chance is made, but against all odds, it works. Chuck begins to scoot around the tub. It's that aspect that I leaned on. I figured if Terrans are stories, then why not try one? If I was most likely to die regardless, I might as well. That's utter nonsense, Simone states bluntly. Chuck chuckles and her eyes flush slightly. I know. It's illogical, foolish, insane, but it worked. Simone, you found me just when I needed you. You not only saved my life, but have become the best part of it. You're my fairy tale, she says, still not quite believing it herself. Coincidence, the Terran reasons, feeling guilty to shatter the Cali spirits. So? I'm not saying I believe that Terrans are magical miracle creatures, but a part of you are in those stories. It's what I illogically hoped for, and then you came along, Chuck argues, before settling down right next to Simone. Okay, then what does any of that have to do with the very real issues? We still can't work, Chuck, Simone points out. All that was to say, I'm beyond lucky to have you in my life in any capacity. As for your 2 points, I don't care. I mean, not about you having these concerns, but I just don't share them. So what if I'm likely to live 100 years longer than you in age? I'm just thankful for every day that passes in the present. Even if that were to happen, I still have, your story, my memories of you. I cherish them even more than the days I've lived them. Don't believe me? That's how I feel right now with all my family gone. They are still with me. That's what your people taught me. The caddy places an upper hand on Simone's shoulder, which is soon gently covered by the Terrans. Chuck, I'm not good for you. Look at me. Simone reiterates in a whisper. I am, Chuck says, with her eyes flashing brighter, as if to reinforce her words. No, I mean it. I'm not called a Deathworlder for nothing. Those traffickers I fought? Kill them all. But they had to try outside the other Deathworlder. Okay. One of them was a Callian. Simone is silenced as Chuck's lower appendage is placed upon her lips. The only one calling you a Deathworlder on this ship is you. You asked me to not refer to you as such, and I see why. You are a powerful but kind person. You said you only help people by hurting others. Then why did you first step in and help me? Why make a fool of yourself in Kamoy? And why did you put up with me when you didn't have to? Why is that you always know what to say to make me feel better? Why did you help Kiraz and her babies? You are so much more than a fighter. You care. Care enough to do something about it. I don't judge you for the violence you end up in. I judge you for why you're in it. That's not fair to you to be caught up in it, but that's not a fault of you, Chuck says, twisting her body up and over onto Simone's slap face to face. I would already be long dead without you here. I know the risks, but they don't mean much if I could die any day. I'd much rather take those risks and be happy. You deserve to be happy too. Please, let me help make you happy as well. Chuck cups the mystified Terran's face in her hands. But what if I do hurt you? Simone softly says with misty eyes. Then I already forgive you, because you would have given me something worth it. In fact, you already have. You may not trust yourself, but I do. Do you trust me? Simone gazes at this woman, screaming internally to reject her, to keep her safe, to not risk killing another family. I do, she whispers truthfully. Chuck leans in, passionately kissing Simone for a brief moment of relief. Then she shuffles in her Terran seat as she pulls away to speak. Then take me to my quarters.